A quiet mind can still feel loud inside a crowded room. Some people walk away from certain conversations feeling drained, anxious, or emotionally heavy without understanding why. Others suddenly need silence after spending time around specific people, even when nothing bad happened on the surface. Most of the world dismisses this as overthinking, mood swings, or being too sensitive. But there is another side to this that very few people truly understand. Some individuals absorb emotional tension the same way a sponge absorbs water. They notice energy shifts before words are even spoken. They feel discomfort hidden behind fake smiles. They sense emotional pressure in places where everyone else feels normal. And after years of living this way, they slowly develop habits that look strange to other people but make perfect sense to genuine empaths. The strange part is that many empaths spend most of their lives believing there is something wrong with them. They do not realize their emotional reactions are connected to the way their nervous system processes the world around them. Psychology researchers have studied highly sensitive people for years and found that certain individuals react more deeply to emotional stimulation, facial expressions, tension, and environmental stress. This means some people are naturally wired to feel emotional intensity more strongly than others. And once you understand this, many confusing behaviors suddenly start making sense. The isolation, the emotional exhaustion, the disappearing acts, the need for silence. The deep discomfort around fake people, none of it is random. In this video, you will discover the 7 weird things genuine empaths do that most people completely misunderstand. Some of these behaviors may seem dramatic from the outside, but in reality they are emotional survival mechanisms developed after years of absorbing the emotions of everyone around them. You will learn why empaths suddenly cut themselves off from people without warning, why crowded places mentally exhaust them faster than others, why they replay conversations inside their heads for hours, and why emotionally wounded people seem strangely attracted to them. You will also discover one hidden empath trait that quietly destroys many relationships without either person realizing what is happening. And the deeper this video goes, the more these patterns begin connecting together in ways that most people never notice. Some viewers may even recognize behaviors they have struggled to explain their entire lives, because genuine empaths often feel deeply understood for the first time when hearing these truths explained clearly. So stay with this video until the end, because the final signs are often the most powerful and emotionally revealing. One of them explains why many empaths feel completely alone even while surrounded by people who care about them. If this topic feels personal already, there is a reason for that. This channel explores the hidden psychology behind human behavior, emotional patterns, relationships, and the quiet struggles people rarely talk about openly. So subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and join us as we uncover the emotional realities most people never see. Most people believe empathy simply means being kind, caring, or emotionally supportive. But genuine empaths experience emotions in a much deeper and far more exhausting way. They do not just understand how someone feels. They absorb emotional environments almost like their nervous system is constantly scanning every person, every tone change, every hidden tension, and every emotional shift happening around them. Even when nobody says anything directly, empaths often feel the emotional atmosphere immediately. A room can look calm on the surface while still feeling emotionally heavy to them. One person's frustration can quietly affect their mood for hours. A fake smile can create discomfort they cannot explain logically. Many empaths spend years trying to understand why normal social situations drain them more than everyone else. They wonder why certain conversations leave them mentally exhausted while others seem completely unaffected. The reason is that highly sensitive people process emotional information differently. Studies around emotional sensitivity suggest that some individuals naturally notice subtle emotional cues faster and more deeply than others. Tiny facial movements, awkward pauses, changes in voice tone, forced laughter, hidden anger, nervous energy, emotional pressure, and even silence itself can trigger emotional reactions inside them without them realizing it consciously. Their brain constantly collects emotional information in the background, and over time this creates a life that feels emotionally louder than the world experienced by most people. Even peaceful places can suddenly feel uncomfortable depending on who is present. Some empaths describe it as walking around with an emotional antenna that never fully turns off. This is why many genuine empaths often feel exhausted without understanding exactly what caused it. Their body reacts to emotional tension before their mind can explain it. Sometimes they leave a gathering feeling emotionally drained even when everyone appeared friendly. Sometimes they feel uneasy around a person who technically did nothing wrong. Sometimes they absorb sadness from others so strongly that they begin carrying emotions that never even belonged to them in the first place. This constant emotional awareness slowly shapes the way empaths behave around the world. And eventually, those behaviors begin looking strange to people who do not experience emotions this intensely. One of the biggest examples of this is the way empaths suddenly disappear from people without warning. This confuses many friendships and relationships because from the outside it looks cold or distant, but internally something very different is happening. Genuine empaths often disappear socially because emotional exposure becomes overwhelming after a certain point. Too much interaction begins to overload their nervous system. Too many emotions, too many conversations, too many people needing energy from them at the same time. While others recharge socially, many empaths recharge through emotional silence. After spending long periods around emotional intensity, they often feel mentally crowded inside their own mind. And when this emotional overload builds for too long, they slowly shut down. They stop replying to messages. They avoid calls. They cancel plans. They withdraw from conversations. Sometimes they disappear for days without explanation, not because they hate people, not because they stopped caring, but because their emotional system can no longer process the weight they have been carrying. Many empaths secretly feel guilty for this behavior because they know it hurts others, but at the same time, staying emotionally available for too long begins damaging their own mental state. Some people can spend hours in emotionally chaotic environments and walk away unaffected. Empaths usually cannot. Crowded spaces, emotional conflict, dramatic personalities, toxic conversations, fake social energy, constant negativity, and emotionally demanding people drain them faster than most realize. Their nervous system absorbs too much information at once. Even small interactions slowly stack on top of each other emotionally. One tense conversation can stay inside their mind all day. One emotionally unstable person can completely shift their mood. And after repeated emotional overload, silence becomes necessary. Solitude becomes emotional recovery. That is why many empaths suddenly vanish after periods of heavy emotional interaction. They are not always running away from people. Sometimes they are simply trying to reconnect with themselves again. Because after constantly carrying everyone else's emotions, they begin losing touch with where their own emotions even start. Many empaths describe this feeling as emotional suffocation. Their mind becomes crowded with everyone else's energy until they no longer feel mentally clear. That is why isolation often feels peaceful to them. Silence allows their nervous system to calm down. Being alone allows emotional separation. No expectations, no emotional pressure, no hidden tension, no emotional performance, just quiet. And this need for emotional reset becomes stronger as empaths grow older. Younger empaths often force themselves into exhausting social situations because they want connection and acceptance, but after years of emotional burnout, many start protecting their peace more seriously. They become selective about who they allow close to them. They stop attending gatherings that leave them drained. They reduce contact with emotionally chaotic people. Some even begin disappearing from social media because constant emotional exposure becomes too heavy mentally. To outsiders, this can seem antisocial or dramatic, but for genuine empaths, it is often emotional survival, because constantly absorbing the emotions of others eventually creates exhaustion that is difficult to explain to someone who has never experienced it personally. One emotionally heavy conversation can stay in an empath's body for hours or even days. They replay emotional tension repeatedly inside their mind. They analyze hidden meanings. They question energy shifts. They wonder if someone is secretly hurting. They wonder if someone is angry even when they said everything is fine. Their brain continues processing emotional information long after the interaction ends, and over time this creates emotional fatigue that builds silently. Many empaths become physically tired after intense social interaction. Their body feels heavy. Their motivation disappears. They crave isolation even when they love the people around them. This emotional exhaustion is one reason genuine empaths often appear distant unexpectedly. They simply reach emotional capacity faster than others. But another strange thing happens with empaths that many people misunderstand completely. They can often sense bad energy almost immediately, before logic explains anything, before evidence appears, before words reveal the truth. Their body reacts first. Genuine empaths are usually highly sensitive to emotional inconsistencies. They notice tension hidden underneath politeness. They notice fake kindness that feels forced. They notice passive aggression hidden behind calm voices. They notice emotional manipulation before most people recognize it consciously. Many empaths struggle explaining this ability because it feels more like sensing than thinking. Sometimes they meet someone who seems completely normal on the surface, yet internally they feel uneasy without understanding why. Other people may love that person immediately while the empath quietly keeps emotional distance. Later, when toxic behavior finally becomes obvious to everyone else, the empath realizes their instincts were warning them long before logic caught up. This happens because highly sensitive people unconsciously notice subtle emotional cues that others overlook. Tiny facial changes, micro-expressions, sudden silence, voice tension, inconsistent emotions, forced energy, delayed reactions, body language shifts, emotional coldness hidden behind friendly words. Genuine empaths absorb these signals automatically. Their nervous system reacts before their conscious mind fully understands what it noticed. That is why many empaths say they can feel when something is wrong even if they cannot explain it logically yet. Their body picks up emotional danger early. This sensitivity often makes life emotionally complicated because empaths constantly feel emotional layers underneath people's words. They struggle pretending everything feels normal when their instincts are screaming otherwise. For example, an empath may enter a room where everyone is smiling and laughing yet still feel emotional discomfort immediately. Later they discover hidden conflict, resentment, jealousy, or tension was already present beneath the surface the entire time. Their emotional awareness notices invisible emotional pressure faster than others. And while this ability can protect them sometimes, it can also become emotionally exhausting because they constantly notice emotional realities other people ignore. Many empaths describe feeling emotionally alert around certain personalities. Narcissistic behavior especially creates strong internal discomfort in highly sensitive people, because manipulation often carries emotional inconsistency underneath the surface charm. Empaths may not always identify the behavior immediately, but they feel the emotional imbalance quickly. Their body reacts with anxiety, exhaustion, tension, or emotional heaviness long before they consciously understand the reason. This is why many empaths struggle being around fake people. Even when someone says all the right things, the emotional energy behind the words feels wrong to them. They notice when kindness feels performative. They notice when someone is hiding resentment behind politeness. They notice emotional dishonesty. And because they absorb emotional environments so deeply, being around emotionally negative people affects them intensely. Some people can ignore toxic energy easily. Empaths usually cannot. One manipulative personality can drain their emotional state for days. One emotionally angry person can create internal anxiety throughout the entire room. One emotionally unstable environment can make them feel mentally exhausted almost instantly. This sensitivity explains why empaths are often extremely selective with the people they trust deeply. They may appear calm externally while internally scanning emotional safety constantly. Trust for them is not based only on words, it is based on emotional consistency, energy, tone, intentions, presence. Their nervous system constantly asks one question in the background: does this person feel emotionally safe? And when the answer feels uncertain, many empaths quietly pull away even if they cannot fully explain why. This confuses many people because empaths often sense emotional danger before visible proof appears. Others may think they are overreacting or being dramatic, but genuine empaths usually learn through painful experience that ignoring their emotional instincts often leads to emotional damage later. That is why they begin trusting their emotional reactions more seriously over time. Their sensitivity becomes a form of protection. Still, living this way can feel isolating, because most people do not understand how exhausting constant emotional awareness becomes. Imagine constantly noticing emotional tension nobody else acknowledges. Imagine feeling emotionally uncomfortable around someone everyone else trusts. Imagine absorbing emotional negativity every time you enter certain environments. Over time, many empaths become emotionally cautious because they know how deeply emotional energy affects them internally. Some start avoiding crowded places completely, others limit social interaction. Others become extremely protective of their personal space because they realize certain people leave emotional residue inside them long after conversations end. This emotional awareness can even affect simple daily experiences. A tense workplace can mentally drain them before the day even starts. Family conflict can stay inside their chest for hours. A toxic friendship can affect their sleep, concentration, appetite, and emotional stability. Genuine empaths often carry emotional weight silently because they know most people will not understand the intensity of what they feel. Many were told growing up that they were too emotional, too sensitive, too dramatic, or too affected by things that should not matter. But over time, they realize their sensitivity is not weakness, it is heightened emotional perception. The problem is that without emotional boundaries, this perception can slowly become emotionally destructive. That is why so many empaths disappear suddenly from situations that feel emotionally overwhelming. Their nervous system eventually reaches exhaustion. And because they spend so much time understanding others emotionally, they often neglect their own emotional health completely. They become emotional caretakers without realizing how drained they truly are inside. Some empaths absorb emotional pain so deeply that they struggle separating their feelings from the feelings of people around them. If someone close to them feels anxious, they begin feeling anxious too. If someone feels angry, tension builds inside their body immediately. If someone feels emotionally unstable, the empath's nervous system reacts almost automatically. This emotional mirroring becomes exhausting because they are constantly adapting emotionally to environments around them. That is why emotional peace feels incredibly valuable to genuine empaths. Calm energy allows their mind to rest. Emotionally safe people feel rare and deeply comforting to them. They remember peaceful energy because so much of their life feels emotionally loud internally. And because they notice emotional tension so quickly, many empaths become extremely observant without meaning to. They study people quietly. They notice contradictions between behavior and emotion. They notice when someone's smile disappears for half a second. They notice discomfort hidden beneath confidence. They notice sadness hidden behind humor. This makes them excellent at understanding emotional pain in others, but it also means they struggle ignoring emotional negativity once they sense it. Their awareness keeps pulling attention toward emotional undercurrents most people miss. Some empaths even describe feeling emotionally unsafe around certain people despite having no logical reason at first. Later, hidden manipulation, dishonesty, jealousy, or emotional instability eventually becomes visible. Experiences like this strengthen their trust in emotional instincts even more. They begin realizing their nervous system notices emotional patterns before conscious logic catches up. And because this happens repeatedly throughout their life, many empaths become extremely careful around emotionally confusing personalities. They may seem distant at first because they are emotionally observing, watching, feeling, listening beneath words, trying to understand whether someone's emotional energy feels genuine or performative. This emotional caution is often misunderstood as judgment, but in reality, it comes from emotional self-protection. Genuine empaths know how painful emotional manipulation feels once they become emotionally attached, so they quietly study emotional consistency before trusting deeply. And even then, many still end up emotionally exhausted because their natural instinct is to understand people, help people, comfort people, and emotionally carry people who are struggling. That emotional openness becomes beautiful in healthy relationships but dangerous around emotionally draining personalities, which is why many empaths slowly become more isolated as they grow older. Not because they stopped caring about people, but because they finally realized constant emotional exposure comes with a very real mental cost. Long after a conversation ends, many empaths continue reliving it inside their mind like the interaction never fully ended at all. While other people move on quickly, empaths often sit alone replaying tiny emotional details repeatedly. The words, the pauses, the eye contact, the silence between sentences, the energy shift that happened halfway through the conversation, the slight change in someone's voice when a certain topic appeared, the forced smile that lasted 1 second too short, the moment somebody looked away emotionally. Genuine empaths do not simply hear conversations the way most people do. Their brain absorbs emotional information hidden underneath the words themselves, and because of that, even normal interactions can stay inside their thoughts for hours. Sometimes an empath leaves a conversation physically present somewhere else, while mentally remaining trapped inside the emotional atmosphere of that interaction. They begin analyzing everything quietly. They wonder whether they accidentally hurt someone without noticing. They question whether another person was secretly upset but trying to hide it. They replay their own words repeatedly, searching for emotional damage they may have caused unintentionally. This emotional overprocessing becomes exhausting because their mind rarely stops scanning emotional meaning. Even after emotionally simple conversations, their thoughts continue running silently in the background. Many empaths struggle sleeping after emotionally intense interactions because their brain keeps reopening moments again and again. One awkward silence can replay inside their head all night. One strange facial expression can create hours of emotional analysis. One emotionally confusing interaction can stay inside their chest for days. They become detectives of emotional meaning without trying to. Their brain naturally searches for emotional truth hidden beneath surface communication. This is one reason empaths often feel mentally tired even after ordinary social situations. Their nervous system continues processing emotional information long after everyone else emotionally moved on. Some people hear words and accept them directly. Empaths often feel emotional layers beneath the words themselves. They notice hesitation, emotional disconnect, suppressed sadness, passive aggression, hidden insecurity, emotional distance, fear disguised as confidence, pain disguised as humor. And because their brain constantly scans emotional signals, conversations become emotionally heavier for them than most people realize. Sometimes empaths even feel guilty for overthinking interactions, but the truth is their nervous system is naturally wired to pay attention to emotional details others unconsciously ignore. That sensitivity creates deep emotional understanding, but it also creates mental exhaustion because their mind rarely fully rests. One small emotional inconsistency can trigger endless internal questions. Did that person mean what they said? Were they secretly upset? Did I trust the wrong person? Was that kindness genuine? Did I miss emotional pain hidden behind their smile? Many empaths carry these thoughts silently because they know most people would not understand why such small moments affect them so deeply. They often appear calm externally while internally processing emotional information non-stop. Some empaths even replay positive conversations repeatedly because they deeply analyze emotional warmth too. They remember comforting energy, genuine connection, emotional sincerity. Feeling emotionally safe around someone, their brain holds on to emotional experiences intensely, whether good or bad. But unfortunately, painful emotional moments usually stay inside them the longest. Rejection, emotional coldness, disappointment, betrayal, emotional inconsistency. These experiences replay repeatedly because empaths naturally search for emotional understanding. They want clarity, they want emotional truth, they want to understand where emotional shifts happened and why. And this emotional replaying becomes even stronger when trust is involved. Once an empath emotionally opens up to someone, they pay close attention to emotional behavior afterward. If someone's energy suddenly changes, the empath notices immediately. If communication feels colder, they feel it deeply. If emotional distance appears subtly, their nervous system reacts quickly. They may spend hours trying to understand what changed emotionally even before the other person consciously acknowledges it themselves. This can create emotional anxiety because empaths often feel emotional tension before visible conflict actually appears. Their brain keeps scanning for emotional danger constantly. That is why emotionally confusing relationships affect them so deeply. Mixed signals create emotional chaos inside their mind because they naturally analyze emotional patterns intensely. They remember details other people forget instantly. The exact sentence someone used, the emotional tone behind it, the expression on their face during certain moments, the feeling in the room when tension suddenly appeared. Empaths don't just hear words, they analyze emotional weight, and because of this, they often carry emotional memories far longer than other people. Certain conversations stay inside them for years because of how deeply they emotionally experience them in the moment. Some empaths become emotionally exhausted simply from thinking too much about people's emotions constantly. Their mind keeps trying to emotionally protect both themselves and others at the same time. They want connection, but they also fear emotional misunderstanding. They crave closeness, but they also fear hidden emotional danger. This creates an exhausting inner world where emotional analysis rarely fully stops. And eventually that emotional overload begins affecting their entire mood and physical energy too. One emotionally negative person can completely shift an empath's mental state for the entire day. One tense interaction can suddenly make them feel heavy inside without understanding why immediately. Genuine empaths absorb emotional environments so deeply that other people's emotions often become mixed with their own. Some describe this feeling like emotional sponging. They walk into a stressful environment feeling emotionally stable and leave feeling anxious, exhausted, irritated, or emotionally drained despite nothing personally happening to them directly. Their nervous system reacts to emotional energy automatically. A peaceful person can instantly calm them. A chaotic person can mentally exhaust them within minutes. Emotional environments affect them physically, emotionally, and mentally in ways that many people around them never fully notice. This is why empaths often become extremely selective about the energy they allow around themselves. They know certain people leave them emotionally heavy afterward. They know some personalities drain their nervous system slowly over time, and they know emotional negativity sticks to them longer than it does for most people. One emotionally angry person in a room can quietly ruin their entire emotional balance. Even if nobody argues directly, the empath still feels the tension internally. Their body absorbs emotional pressure automatically. Some empaths suddenly become physically tired after spending time around emotionally negative individuals. Others experience headaches, emotional heaviness, anxiety, or mental exhaustion without understanding the cause immediately. Their body reacts before logic fully explains what is happening. Sometimes they mistake absorbed emotions for their own feelings because emotional boundaries become blurred internally. They may wake up emotionally calm but spend time around a stressed person and suddenly feel anxious themselves. They may feel emotionally peaceful until entering an emotionally tense environment where their nervous system begins reacting instantly. This emotional absorption becomes confusing because empaths often struggle separating what belongs to them emotionally from what belongs to others. Sometimes empaths confuse other people's emotions with their own, and because this happens constantly, many genuine empaths begin craving emotional distance simply to feel mentally clear again. Emotional heaviness slowly builds inside them throughout the day from absorbing so many emotional atmospheres unconsciously. Crowded places especially become overwhelming because too many emotional energies exist at once. Different moods, different stress levels, different emotional tensions. Different personalities, their nervous system quietly absorbs pieces of all of it. That is why many empaths feel deeply exhausted after large social gatherings even when nothing bad happened directly. Their emotional system becomes overloaded from processing so much emotional information at the same time. Some empaths even notice physical sensations around certain emotional environments. Tightness in the chest, sudden anxiety, mental fog, fatigue, emotional heaviness, irritability, difficulty concentrating. Their body physically responds to emotional atmospheres constantly, and because most people around them do not experience emotions this intensely, empaths often feel misunderstood when trying to explain it. Others may think they are exaggerating or being overly emotional. But genuine empaths know certain people genuinely affect their emotional state deeply. They feel emotionally different around different energies. Peaceful people feel emotionally safe. Emotionally mature people feel calming. Genuine kindness feels healing. But emotionally manipulative, angry, fake, or chaotic personalities create internal stress that slowly drains them from the inside. Some empaths begin avoiding certain people entirely because their body remembers how emotionally exhausted they felt afterward every single time. Even when those individuals technically did nothing openly wrong, the emotional atmosphere around them feels heavy. Over time, empaths become very protective of their emotional energy because they realize how deeply environments affect them internally. They start choosing silence more often, solitude more often, calm more often, which leads to another strange behavior genuine empaths experience constantly. They need far more alone time than most people, not because they hate people, not because they want isolation permanently, but because solitude feels like emotional recovery. For many empaths, being alone is the only time their nervous system fully relaxes. No emotional pressure, no emotional scanning, no absorbing tension from other people, no emotional noise, just stillness. Quiet becomes emotionally healing to them because their inner world is already emotionally crowded most of the time. Silence allows emotional separation. It gives them space to figure out which emotions actually belong to them. Many empaths do not realize how emotionally overwhelmed they are until they finally spend time alone. Only then does their mind begin calming down. Only then do they notice how exhausted they truly felt around others. Some people feel energized through constant social interaction. Empaths often feel emotionally overloaded by too much social exposure. Even positive interaction becomes draining eventually because their nervous system never stops processing emotional information deeply. That is why many empaths crave peaceful environments intensely. Nature, quiet rooms, music, night drives, rain sounds, empty spaces, calm energy. These environments allow their emotional system to breathe again. Solitude does not always feel lonely to them. In fact, solitude often feels emotionally safe. There are no hidden emotional expectations in silence, no emotional manipulation. No pressure to emotionally perform, no tension to absorb, just peace. And to an empath, peace is not luxury, it's emotional survival. Many empaths secretly protect their alone time because without it, emotional burnout slowly begins destroying their mental balance. They need time to emotionally reset after carrying other people's emotions constantly. Some empaths disappear for hours simply to recover mentally. Others stay awake late at night because nighttime feels emotionally quieter than daytime. The world finally slows down enough for their nervous system to relax. They begin thinking clearly again once emotional noise fades. Some empaths even feel emotionally closer to themselves during quiet moments than during social interaction. Because around people, they spend so much energy emotionally reading others that they slowly disconnect from their own emotional needs. Solitude helps them reconnect internally. This is why many empaths become deeply attached to peaceful routines. Quiet walks, music alone in the car, sitting outside at night, watching rain, long drives with no destination, empty rooms. These moments give their nervous system emotional rest from constant emotional stimulation. But ironically, even though empaths crave peace deeply, they also tend to attract emotionally wounded people constantly. And this becomes one of the heaviest emotional burdens many genuine empaths carry throughout life. Strangers suddenly tell them personal trauma without warning. Friends emotionally depend on them intensely. Toxic people become emotionally attached to them quickly. Emotionally broken individuals often feel strangely safe around empaths because empaths naturally create emotional comfort without trying to. Their listening feels genuine, their emotional attention feels warm, their energy feels accepting. Many wounded people sense this immediately, so they open up quickly around empaths in ways they do not around others. Some empaths notice complete strangers sharing painful life stories with them within minutes of meeting. Others constantly become emotional support systems inside friendships and relationships without intending to. People instinctively unload emotional pain onto them because they feel emotionally understood in their presence. The problem is that empaths often absorb that emotional pain deeply afterward. They listen too much, give too much, carry too much. Many genuine empaths spend years becoming unpaid therapists for emotionally damaged people. They comfort, support, reassure, understand, forgive, absorb, and over time this becomes emotionally exhausting because very few people return the same emotional energy back to them. Empaths often attract emotionally wounded individuals because wounded people crave emotional safety, and empaths naturally create emotional safety through deep listening and emotional presence. But toxic people also become attached to empaths for the exact same reason. Manipulative personalities love emotional access to highly understanding people. They sense emotional softness and emotional patience quickly, which is why many empaths repeatedly end up emotionally drained by one-sided relationships. They keep trying to emotionally save people who slowly destroy their peace instead. Some empaths even confuse emotional rescuing with love because they became so used to emotionally carrying others throughout life. They feel responsible for people's emotional pain constantly. They want to heal others emotionally, even when it damages their own mental health. This creates deeply unhealthy relationship patterns sometimes. Empaths may ignore red flags because they focus too much on understanding why someone behaves badly instead of protecting themselves from the behavior. They see emotional wounds underneath toxic behavior and begin feeling compassion instead of distance. That compassion becomes dangerous when emotional boundaries are weak, because emotionally wounded people often unconsciously pull emotional energy from empaths constantly. And empaths keep giving because they hate seeing others emotionally suffer. Over time, many genuine empaths become emotionally exhausted from constantly supporting everyone while secretly carrying their own emotional pain alone. They become emotional homes for people who never learned emotional safety. And eventually, this creates another painful experience many empaths know deeply: feeling lonely even while surrounded by people. Genuine empaths crave deep emotional connection more than surface interaction. They want emotional honesty, emotional depth, emotional safety, emotional sincerity. But most daily conversations remain shallow, repetitive, emotionally disconnected. Surface-level interaction slowly drains them because their emotional world naturally operates much deeper internally. Many empaths can sit inside crowded rooms filled with people and still feel emotionally alone. Everyone may be talking, laughing, and socializing around them, yet internally they feel disconnected because nobody truly sees the emotional depth they carry quietly. They spend so much time understanding everyone else emotionally while very few people take the time to understand them at the same level. This creates quiet loneliness that many empaths rarely speak about openly. They may have friends, relationships, family, social lives, yet still feel emotionally unseen most of the time. Surface conversations exhaust them because they crave emotional authenticity naturally. They want real connection, real honesty, real emotional presence. Fake interaction feels empty to them quickly. They notice emotional disconnection even when conversations sound normal externally. And because they emotionally observe so much internally, they often feel different from the people around them, like they emotionally experience the world at a depth others do not fully understand. Some empaths even stop expressing their true emotions openly because they learned most people cannot hold emotional depth comfortably. So they become listeners instead, observers instead, emotional supporters instead. Meanwhile, their own emotional needs remain hidden quietly underneath everything else. Many people come to empaths for understanding, comfort, validation, and emotional support, but very few stay long enough to truly understand the empath themselves. That imbalance slowly creates emotional loneliness over time. The hardest part of being an empath is constantly understanding others while rarely feeling understood yourself. So no, genuine empaths are not weak, and they are not too emotional the way the world often labels them. The truth is much deeper than that. They simply experience emotional reality more intensely than most people ever will. They notice tension hidden behind smiles. They feel emotional shifts nobody talks about openly. They carry energy from conversations long after everyone else forgets them. And after years of absorbing the emotions, pain, pressure, and chaos of the people around them, they slowly build behaviors that look strange from the outside but make complete sense internally. The silence, the disappearing, the emotional exhaustion, the need for distance, the overthinking, the loneliness in crowded rooms, none of it happens without a reason. Most empaths are not trying to avoid people. They are trying to protect their peace before they emotionally collapse under the weight of carrying too much for too long. Because feeling everything deeply can become exhausting in a world where most people barely notice what others are feeling at all. And maybe that is the painful part many genuine empaths quietly live with every single day. They spend so much time understanding others that almost nobody notices how emotionally tired they are themselves. They become safe places for broken people while secretly fighting emotional battles nobody sees. They listen when others need comfort. They stay calm when others fall apart. They carry emotional pain silently because they do not want to burden anyone else with what they feel inside. But the people who feel the most often hide the most emotional pain. And sometimes the strongest souls are the ones quietly trying not to drown in emotions they never asked to carry in the first place. If this video felt deeply personal, then there is a strong chance you experience the world differently too. Maybe you notice emotions others ignore. Maybe certain people drain your energy instantly. Maybe you have spent years feeling misunderstood without knowing why. And if that is true, then this channel was made for people like you. So take a second to subscribe for more deep psychological insights about empathy, human behavior, emotional intelligence, narcissism, relationships, and the hidden emotional patterns most people never talk about openly. And if this video connected with you emotionally, leave a like because it helps this message reach more people who silently struggle with the same feelings every day. Also share this video with someone who always carries everyone else's emotions while pretending they are completely fine. Sometimes one video can make a person finally feel understood for the first time in years.